I'm really thrilled that we're joined by so many friends, family members, by faculty members, administrators, and community partners who have mentored these exceptional students during their time at Tufts. Each year we celebrate the remarkable achievements in civic leadership and public service of our students with the prestigious Presidential Awards for Civic Life. Active citizenship and positive social impact are core values at Tufts, and they're a defining strength of this institution. Today's recipients embody those values. They take action for change. They collaborate, they innovate, they challenge themselves and us with tough questions, and they take on seemingly intractable problems. In short, they do what we ask of all Tufts students. They put their values, knowledge, and skills to work for the greater good. With all of the extraordinary student-led work that is happening at Tufts, it seems like choosing the awardees gets more and more difficult every year. You will note that this year we have 20 winners, 10 undergraduates, 10 graduate students, which is more than usual. And I think that speaks to something fundamental that is in the air at Tufts and across the country. Now more than ever, young people here and around the world are leading, calling out injustice, demanding change, registering to vote, and running for office themselves. And so it is fitting that we are honoring this group of leaders on our campus today. As we recognize their achievements and thank them for their service to the university and our surrounding communities, I also want to acknowledge the support and mentorship that they have had from so many in this room. So special thanks to the faculty members, staff, students, and community partners who submitted nominations this year. You identified students doing inspiring work every day that has had and will continue to have a profound impact. You will hear more about our award recipients shortly, as each is introduced by his or her nominators and who will share these students' accomplishments in more detail. After we present the awards, Dan Jay, Dean of the Sackler School of Graduate Biomedical Sciences, will make concluding remarks, and then I will close the program. But now it's my pleasure to introduce Alan Solomon, Dean of the Jonathan M. Tisch College of Civic Life, to give opening remarks and be your MC this morning. Please join me in welcoming Dean Alan Solomon.
Thank you, Tony. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, you're all awake. But there's coffee if you're not. It's great to join so many members of the Tufts community to celebrate the outstanding students that we're going to honor this morning. I want to thank President Makoto for hosting the ceremony. I want to join him in acknowledging all of the Tufts faculty, staff, and community members who have played such a vital role in helping today's award recipients learn, grow, and thrive as civic leaders. I also want to thank my Tisch College colleagues, Jen McAndrew, Marion Woznica, and Jess Burns, for their hard work on this year's Presidential Awards and for organizing this morning's reception. In my opinion, the Presidential Awards for Civic Life are among the highest honors that Tufts confers on students. They reflect one of the university's most important missions: to educate a generation of young people to apply their knowledge and their passions to solving problems and to creating a brighter world. It's my privilege as dean to lead Tisch College, whose purpose is to advance this goal at Tufts, and more broadly to promote higher education's responsibility to prepare students for a lifetime of civic engagement and participation in the world around them. These are difficult times for civic and democratic life in the United States and around the globe. But as President Makoto said, these are also hopeful times in which young people are taking on some of the most difficult issues facing society, and perhaps reminding us that these problems are not as intractable as they may appear. At Tisch College, we are increasing our efforts to study, promote, and facilitate the civic and political participation of young people. Here on campus, we are committed to ensuring that every student can follow his or her own pathway to a productive civic life, no matter their personal passions, academic interests, or professional goals. Many of the students being honored today have taken advantage of those pathways and are recognized in part for work they have done through Tisch College courses, programs, and initiatives, and with Tisch College support. Among them are Tisch Scholars, Tisch Summer Fellows, Tisch Dialogue Fellows. Some were mentored by our staff, and some received financial support from the Tisch Fund for Civic Engagement. Others participated in their school's service learning programs that are administered by Tisch College. You'll hear about their work and their accomplishments, and I don't want to delay the proceedings, but know that the entire Tisch College family is immensely proud to have played a small role in your achievements. Indeed, we are proud of all of these students and many others worthy nominees who were not selected, all of whom share the quintessential jumbo commitment to engage in civic life and to change the world for the better. Let's move on to the award presentations, but a few notes before we do. Nominators, after your brief remarks, we have 20 nominees, and we want to hear from the nominators briefly. 2 minutes. Please remain at the front and join the president in presenting the award and posing for photos. Each award recipient school dean is also invited to join in the photos. Please remember, take off your name tag before having your photo taken. Please feel free to get up and grab some more breakfast. And finally, please applaud enthusiastically and show your appreciation as we celebrate these outstanding students. So now we'll begin with the undergraduate presidential award winners. Please help me welcome each nominator as they come forward to present their award recipient. We will start with Ron Lasser, the professor of the practice for electrical and computer engineering and a Tisch faculty fellow, who will introduce Ryan Stocking.
Good morning. Leave their phone and sleep again. I am a pinch hitter here for Dean Darrell Williams, who is the actual nominator for Ryan Stocking. And so these are Darrell's words, not mine. Ryan Stocking has been a remarkable student leader, and this is not only among his peers, but also among the faculty of the School of Engineering. In my first encounter with Ryan back in the spring of 2016, I was impressed with how he articulated himself and connected with different audiences. He was a student representative to the School of Engineering Curriculum Task Force, and he offered thoughtful and constructive criticism of the undergraduate experience. Some of his own insights have been taken into serious consideration with respect to how SOE is re-envisioning components such as executing a more flexible curriculum, more opportunities for study abroad, etc. I later came to learn more about Ryan's leadership in public service when he decided to lead the reinstatement of the Engineering Student Council. The EASC was at one point a vibrant student-led organization that served as an umbrella for many SOE student groups. It slowly dissolved. But Ryan saw the vision in keeping it alive and growing it because it provides a valuable sounding board and mechanism for students to communicate more effectively across the School of Engineering. Local to the School of Engineering, but there's national implications for Ryan's endeavors, which he is well aware. At the national level, many institutions have thriving engineering student councils as a mark of their dynamic programs and compelling students. These councils gather collectively through the National Engineering Student Council, which meets annually each spring. The NESC is a growing body and a voice in engineering education, and they are poised to have representation among ABET, which is our accreditation process in the School of Engineering. It's important to highlight this because Tufts School of Engineering continues to attract top students from around the country, and Ryan has participated in helping us to continue that effort. As such, I'm excited for his nomination for this prestigious award and look forward to seeing him thrive behind his achievements here at Tufts. My only comments that I can add to Darrell's words is I've known Ryan since he was a sophomore in my first engineering class. I've since had about 4 or 5. I've lost count of how many classes he's taken with me. I will miss him. I wish him the best of luck, and I'm sure he will be successful as he goes through his career and makes Tufts proud. Congratulations.
Next, I'd like to introduce Katrina Moore, the director of the Africana Center, who's going to introduce Fatima Ajose.
Good morning, everyone. Even though I got up at the crack of dawn, the traffic just did not want to cooperate this morning. So I'm so happy that I was able to get here on time. I would like to thank you for this opportunity to introduce someone who is very special to me. I met Fatima during our 2014 orientation retreat, and it has been my pleasure to observe the growth of her leadership skills over her 4 years at Tufts. Early in her career, Fatima served as an Africana Center peer leader, working with first-year students to ensure their successful transition to Tufts. She also served as an executive board member with the Emerging Black Leaders student organization, where she provided weekly tutoring and mentoring sessions to secondary students in the Boston area. She was successful in being selected to serve 2 terms as the Tufts Community Union Senate Africana Community Representative, and she worked diligently to institute policy changes to address the concerns and needs of Tufts students. She used her Senate experience to hone her democratic and governance skills to be an effective civic agent to build a more equitable campus environment. Through this work, she was with the hashtag 3% student activism group. She played a critical role in coordinating a series of 3 very productive meetings between students and the administration that resulted in many of the student demands being accepted, including the establishment of the Students' Quest for Unity in the African Diaspora, the Squad Peer Orientation Program, the awarding of a Student Activities Fund to supplement the Africana Center budget, and the hiring of a Black mental health counselor. She wasted little time in getting back into leadership positions when she returned from her study abroad experience in Ghana. This year, she has served as the chair of the Africana Advisory Alliance, working with student organizations and the Africana Center staff. During these meetings, Fatima exhibited her highly developed organizational and leadership skills to ensure that the meetings were productive and respectful of everyone's opinion. She mobilized students to reestablish the Pan-African Alliance, student organization, and she presented several events that featured Black businesses from the Boston area. As a Tisch scholar, Sherry Scarlett reports that Fatima has worked for 3 years at partner sites such as the Josiah Quincy Upper School in Boston, where she served as a health and wellness coordinator and developed experience around community health inequities and disparities. At the Daily Table in Dorchester, she focused on making community members aware of the services to bring highly healthy food that the Daily Table provides to them. And this year, she explored the policy and research side of community health by working with Dr. Linda Sprague Martinez at the Boston University School of Social Work. Fatima has worked to develop skills in direct service and policy work throughout her time in the Tisch Scholars Program, and these skills will allow her to be an advocate for community members as she moves forward in her career. She has been an invaluable member of the Tufts community and has been able to maintain her exemplary GPA, mainly due to the high level of self-accountability and commitment to academic excellence. I am thrilled to celebrate her and to recognize her as a recipient of the 2018 Presidential Award.
Mary Jacob, Tufts University Senior Vice President, General Counsel, will introduce Saja Alani.
Good morning. It is my honor to introduce Saja Alani. I am actually standing in for our Muslim chaplain, Celine Ibrahim, who is unable to be here today. So I am deeply honored to stand in her shoes to introduce this outstanding student. Saja Alani is the community health major in the School of Arts and Science. She leads with insight, wisdom, and grace. From steering the Tufts Muslim Students Association to combating health care disparities, supporting Syrian refugees, dismantling harmful stereotypes about Islam, teaching and mentoring Muslim youth, and so much more. Saja is a shining example of what it means to be engaged in service of the local, regional, national, and global communities. She is a tireless advocate for social justice and brings a commitment to her faith and her family in all that she does. Through the strength of her resolve and the generosity of her spirit, she embodies the hope, peace, and love that our world so desperately needs. Saja, congratulations on this award.
Jonathan Garlick, professor at the Tufts School of Dental Medicine and a Tisch College Senior Fellow, will introduce Ross Bendetson.
Ross Bendetson, you personify community leadership and service. You embody and fully live what it means to inspire others to act. And now I'll talk to the rest of you and tell you about what Ross has contributed to Tufts over the last 4 years, through which I've grown to know and love this remarkable campus citizen, and as his grandma would probably say, a true mensch. So Ross was responsible for transforming Tufts Financial Group. Through his commitment to shared learning, he worked to change this club into a pre-professional group that was focused on helping students engage in real-world activities designed to prepare them to lead a purposeful civic life. This year, as a senior, Ross has been a student leader of our inaugural group of Tisch College Dialogue Fellows. As a Tisch College Dialogue Fellow, he committed himself to creating new ways to overcome barriers that limit open-mind conversation on our campus. He committed himself to providing opportunities for students to share their concerns and hopes in ways that enhance a greater understanding of others. At a time when our world most needs it, we honor Ross today for his work to break down stereotypes, inspire curiosity, empower intellectually humble discourse that has built trust, dignity, and resilience into our conversations across our Tufts community. And in doing so, his leadership has paved the way for other students to engage across difference in their own communities. Ross, your humility and strength of character distinguishes you as a citizen of our Tufts community. When you speak, you are sincere and you are generous. This is what I've heard you say about your community work. In your words, just a few quotes. Quote, "My only regret is that I wish I could have led dialogues for 4 years at Tufts. I would have made a bigger impact during my time here." When called to facilitate a dialogue, I've heard you say, quote, "I'll be there, I'm pumped." And when you finish, you say, "I'm fired up." Those who know Ross understand that. As a leader, you know how to inspire others. I've heard you say, "Together, we can be great." But I've also heard you say that we may be great, but we can be even greater. So it's been a real gift watching you grow. I have learned from you, and you set an example for us all. You have a deep understanding of your call to duty as you teach us how to care for each other on the path towards meaningful community service. These are the qualities that can change the world. And we can't wait to watch you do this. Congratulations, Ross.
Sherry Sklarowitz, Associate Director of Student Programs at Tisch College, will speak alongside Rob Mack, Co-Chief Diversity Officer and Associate Dean for Student Success and Advising, introducing Ana del Castillo.
Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to be here to talk about Ana. So I'm the Associate Director of Student Programs at Tisch College, and I'm one of the co-nominators, along with Rob Mack, the Associate Provost and Chief Diversity Officer, and Heather Curtis, an Associate Professor of Religion. Although Heather could not be present at this event, I wanted to share some thoughts for her nomination of Ana. She writes, "Of the hundreds of undergraduate students that I have worked with during my 10 years at Tufts, Ana ranks among the top 3. Her excellent academic accomplishments, combined with her achievements in the university community and her commitments to interfaith dialogue and justice work within Tufts, make her an outstanding candidate for this honor. Throughout her time at Tufts, Ana has worked diligently to build community and advocate for positive social change. She is committed to using dialogue to hear all perspectives present and deliberation to find perspectives that work." Rob Mack advised BLAST, the very selective Bridge to Liberal Arts Success at Tufts, in which Ana was a participant. In his nomination, he wrote about what a very clear decision it was to choose her for a selective summer humanities program at Oxford, where Ana was one of 3 Tufts delegates to engage in meaningful dialogue on college access and equity for underrepresented students, shaping the conversation of educational access on an international front. In my own experience, I have worked with Ana in her leadership role in the Andrew Goodman Foundation, a student organization that encourages political engagement on campus. She worked with the fellows to register over 500 voters to vote on National Registration Day in 2017, and to partner with a community organization to host a dialogue on Islamophobia. But the thing is, in terms of her accomplishments, these really just barely scratch the surface. Her commitment to social change, to interfaith work, and the general uplifting of society is an inspiration to me. I look at her and see greatness. She has created such strong relationships here at Tufts, and her vision for the future makes me believe that a more just world is possible. We congratulate Anna on her acceptance to the Harvard Divinity School in the Religion, Ethics, and Politics Master's Program, where she will be heading next year. They are lucky to get you, and we all wish you the very best.
Ming Chow, Senior Lecturer in Computer Science, will speak with Kathleen Fisher, Professor and Chair of the Computer Science Department, to introduce Winnona DeSombre.
Good morning, everyone. Within the Computer Science Department, Winnona DeSombre has transformed our Women in Computer Science student organization from a small club of 5 students to a vibrant organization with more than 60. During her tenure, the group introduced weekly office hours in which women and femme and non-binary individuals could ask others for advice on specific computer science issues. The organization initiated affinity groups of women in computer science members that meet throughout the academic year to discuss topics of particular interest. And they organize visits to local companies for members to network and develop opportunities. In addition, Winnona, as president of the Women in Computer Science organization, launched the first Women in Technology Conference, which took place in October 2017 at Tufts. The event, which included both technical and mentoring content, attracted roughly 100 participants from 8 colleges, 3 high schools, and 10 companies. Winnona's knowledge in both international relations and computer science complement each other very well. Winnona's accomplishments in computer science and international relations include director of the Tuftsino U.S. Relations Group, putting together the 2016 U.S. Symposium, semifinalist in the 2017 Atlantic Council Cyber 912 student competition in Washington, D.C. Her paper on China's espionage campaigns against the United States, honored by the National Office of Sigma Iota Rho, the International Relations Honor Society, and very recently, winner of the grand prize in Defending Democracy Project's D3P, first ever Information Operations Technical and Policy Hackathon at the Belfer Center at Harvard, where policy and tech entrepreneurs combined insights from across different disciplines to craft innovative ideas to fight back against the enemies of digital democracy. On a personal note, I am eternally grateful for what Winnona has accomplished for Tufts and also for my career at Tufts. She has created a number of bridges and opportunities, bridging computer science and international relations, informing others of cybersecurity and policy issues, and connecting students to opportunities and to people that they would have never known about. Winnona has represented Tufts' emphatic values on civic engagement and a larger global conversation. It is my distinct pleasure and honor to introduce you all to Winnona DeSombre.
Please welcome Lisa Lowe, Distinguished Professor of English and Director of the Center for the Humanities, who will introduce Benjamin Kesslen.
I am very pleased to introduce Ben Kesslen, whom I nominated for the Presidential Award. After teaching for more than 25 years, it's rare that a student surprises you and strikes you as so entirely original and path-breaking that you rethink what you once believed as a teacher and a scholar, and as a university citizen. Ben is such a student. He's not only an outstanding academic student with a GPA of 3.97, but he's also been on the dean's list every semester, and during his 4 years at Tufts, he's been a true student leader, deeply committed and involved in crucial aspects of campus and community life. From serving first as staff writer and then as editor-in-chief of the Tufts Observer, interning at WGBH News, Boston's local NPR affiliate, working as a runner for NBC News, the Today Show during the Democratic National Convention, writing a senior honors thesis, and most recently interning at the Boston Review. He has many more accomplishments. I'm just listing a few here. I first met Ben when he declared a major in American Studies, an interdisciplinary major here at Tufts that combines history, sociology, religion, art history, gender, and literary studies. But it's really only this year that I've had the very good experience of coming to know him better when I've been advising his senior honors thesis, which is a remarkable, exciting, and innovative family history of Alliance Colony, the Jewish community in New Jersey, into which his Russian great-great-grandparents first settled when they immigrated from Russia to the United States in the 19th century. As a Gill Fellow and a summer scholar, Ben conducted research in the Alliance archives, interviewed surviving community members, and pored over historical local newspapers, personal narratives, and photographs. He's completed a uniquely thoughtful, complex, and ambitious project that's both academically rigorous and personally significant. Ben's an ethical, courageous, and yet modest leader who creates and inspires the very heterogeneous community we have here at Tufts. His unparalleled student leadership is perhaps most evident in his work as editor-in-chief of the Tufts Observer, a role in which he assembled and inspired an engaged, diverse group of staff writers and stewarded the student magazine to become the distinctly high-quality journal it is now. He generously fosters the intellectual projects of other students, and he has true skill in listening and encouraging others' work. As the editor, Ben was not afraid to write and to publish about controversial topics with the aim of creating a more just and more equitable campus life. His reasoned and courageous essays on the practices of Greek life here at Tufts, on the importance of all gender bathroom access, and others brought awareness to these issues, spurred public debate, and ultimately had a transformative impact on the organization of the campus. Ben Kesslen is very deserving of the Presidential Award for Civic Life. He's a student leader and a scholar of the first order, a rare individual of really dazzling talent and quality, and an independent thinker with great originality and dedication to civic life. I feel as if some years ahead I'm going to be boasting that I was a teacher of Ben Kesslen.
It's a pleasure to introduce Marion Wasnika, the Student Outreach Coordinator at Tisch College, alongside Sherry Sklarowitz, who will introduce Ann Roome.
I am so excited to present this for Annie. As a staff member who works with Tufts students and a recent Tufts grad myself, I understand how hard it is to manage a heavy workload, be active in student groups, and make inroads towards positive change at Tufts. Through working closely with Annie this year, I have seen how she masters all three, and we are very lucky for it. I first met Annie when she approached us at Tisch with the idea of hosting a civics festival for National Voter Registration Day, incorporating a student activities fair for all civically engaged student groups at Tufts, and giving out free ice cream for those students who registered to vote. With her leadership, she helped us bring over 10 student groups together to recruit new members and registered over 500 students to vote, ensuring the continuation of this event in the future. At the same time, Annie created a civic orientation pilot based off of her own research, teaching first years the basics of civic engagement on campus, and organized volunteers to present this pilot to over a dozen ex-college seminars. As she gets ready to graduate and finishes her senior thesis, she is still working with Tisch College to plan next year's voter registration efforts, even though she won't be here. Some of these efforts will be modeled off the civic orientation pilot that she created. She has taught us all invaluable lessons in leadership, community organizing, and public service, and we will miss her next fall.
Thank you. And in addition to her work on Tufts campus, Annie has made a strong and very positive impact on the communities that she's worked with. Annie works very closely with Generation Citizen, an organization that teaches lessons of democracy to middle and high school students, and Annie has held basically every position possible in this organization. She's currently the chapter executive director for Generation Citizen at Tufts. She's also worked as the advocacy director and a democracy coach to lead middle grade students through an action civics curriculum. Ellie Sanchez, who's the program manager for the Massachusetts Generation Citizen team, said, Annie's commitment to civic engagement and education is undeniable. She has worked in Boston and Arlington public schools, coaching middle and high school students on how to take issues affecting them through public policy solutions. She's helped provide these students with internship experiences that would expand their civic leader skills, and continues to lead on many of the civic initiatives happening on the Tufts University campus. It is clear that she is fully invested in this work and in making sure that civic life is an effective component of our democracy. Her dedication to civic engagement is truly admirable. It's clear that Annie has made significant impact in her work on the school community and surrounding community through her political engagement work. She's worked as a Tisch Summer Fellow at Young Invincibles, which has allowed her to delve into civic engagement research, and she also interned at Generation Citizen to coordinate internships for high school students, to write and implement curriculum, and to manage a budget. Most impressive, though, about Annie is her vision. She's able to think long-term about how to create lasting change. That innovative idea to partner with the ex-college to teach incoming students about civic engagement and poll them about whether they vote has the potential to significantly change the way Tisch College thinks about reaching first-year students. Her outreach to unify civic engagement organizations to create a united front that bridges partisan divide is unusual and much needed. She is an outstanding individual in terms of contribution, in addition to being thoughtful, kind, and wonderful to work with. She ensures that the people she's working with has their needs met, and she goes above and beyond to make sure that she does so. It is for these reasons and many more that we nominated her for this award, and we wish you the best of luck in moving forward.
It's a pleasure to call up Sarah Allred, the Tisch Scholars Program Administrator at Tisch College, along with Stefan Seitz, the Division Manager at the PD Green Program, to introduce Amanda Borquaye.
Morning, everyone. I'd like to start by saying thank you to President Monaco and Dean Salamont for the opportunity to honor these amazing students, and congratulations to all of this year's recipients. On behalf of myself and my co-nominators, Ann Moore, the Program Specialist of Scholar Development here at Tufts, and Stefan Seitz, the Division Manager for the PD Green Program, I have the great pleasure of introducing Amanda Borquaye to you today. But rather than start with my own words, I'm going to share some of Amanda's words from her Tisch Scholar application from the fall of her first year at Tufts 3.5 years ago. When asked to describe a person that epitomizes active citizenship, or as we now say, civic life, Amanda wrote, "An active citizen is someone who's willing to go beyond volunteering and community service in order to obtain the skills and knowledge necessary to tackle issues and create systemic change. They abandon the stagnant position of simply being a resident and enter the dynamic role of being a participant and influencer in the affairs that affect the community." I've seen Amanda do exactly that, live a dynamic and engaged life during her time at Tufts. More specifically, she has ventured far outside of the Tufts bubble and focused much of her time and efforts on improving the experiences and opportunities for incarcerated individuals through prison education work. Students in the Tisch Scholars Program work on year-long projects that focus on creating positive social change in our local communities. Over the past 3 years, Amanda has successfully established the Tufts chapter of the PD Green program, an organization which supplements correctional education systems by providing individualized tutoring for incarcerated people. The chapter began with 4 volunteers working at a facility that was hesitant to open their doors to the students, and is currently flourishing with a volunteer corps of over 40 students working at the original location and 2 additional facilities as well. In addition to being well received by the correctional facilities, the Tufts chapter has become a model chapter within the organization, and Amanda has designed and facilitated trainings and events over the past 3 years that engage students, faculty, and staff at Tufts in exploring the topic of mass incarceration as a human rights issue. In her Tisch Scholars Program application, Amanda also described an active citizen as someone who's devoted to creating palpable change to benefit future generations. Building on her passion and focus on education as a means to achieve social, economic, and intellectual mobility, Amanda and her sister have created a scholarship program in honor of their Ghanaian grandmother that will provide funding for young women in Ghana to access education. And I'm happy to share that the project has received, or was recently awarded seed funding from NYU, where Amanda's sister is currently pursuing her law degree. From her first days at Tufts, Amanda has had a clear idea of what civic life means to her and has realized these ideals through her actions. I'm pleased to honor Amanda with a Tufts Presidential Award for Civic Life.
And now I'd invite Anne-Christine Rice, Senior Lecturer in French, to introduce Lucy Zwigard.
Hello. So, as a sophomore, Lucy developed an idea to set up a food rescue program on campus to donate the extra food from the Tufts dining halls to an organization called Food for Free. So she came up with a plan. Student volunteers would go into the dining hall kitchens after most meals and bag up the extra food. And then Tufts Dining would store it in their freezers, and Food for Free would pick it up to turn into meals. Then she managed to convince the Tufts Dining staff to buy a machine that volunteers could use to assemble the meals in the Tufts kitchens. And since then, she has packaged 2,500 balanced meals and donated another 6,000 pounds of food. Also, every week, she and others fill up a van with unwanted food from grocery stores and farmers markets and drop it off at soup kitchens and homeless shelters. Just this semester, they have redirected 18,000 pounds of food. She has also spoken at a conference about her experience, and she has trained 180 volunteers to ensure that the program continues once she graduates. So she started from scratch, but her enthusiasm, her dedication, her organizational skills, and her ability to gather people around her have had an enormous impact, not only on the organizations that she serves, but also on the younger Tufts students willing and trained to take over. And for this, she's receiving here. The award.
Well, now that we've heard about those amazing undergraduates, we're going to learn about some amazing graduate students. So please welcome Elena Nomova, the chair of the Division of Nutrition Data Science and professor at the Friedman School, to introduce Tania Alarcón. Thank you.
Good morning. I am so happy to present you Tania Alarcón, a person I admire, a student we are dreaming for. The faculty who knows her will say, I cannot find a better TA than Tania. She came here in this country as a teen from Ecuador, and she excelled in everything. She excelled with her impeccable writing. She is so creative in data analytics skill, and she emerged as a tough, resilient, and very gentle leader. When I came to Ecuador, right after Pichincha eruption, I came to country covered with ashes, but I was greeted with a sunlight, with radiant smiles of people in the street. And I was so fortunate to work with people who work so hard in a very difficult communities to work. And those sunlights, it's basically all about Tania. She brought this sunlight to our students who are maybe struggling in some steps with difficult tasks and data analysis, especially those who don't have strong mathematical skills. She created a community of people who help each other in achieving really very strong tasks. She was a heart and soul for every single data-related initiatives we started here at Tufts. She was with us when we were in India, creating a new type of teams where undergraduate students, postdoctoral students, graduate students, all working together. She helped our undergrads to learn how to dig through very simple and very straightforward routines of data collections. She helped to build a community which basically published right now almost a dozen of papers where our undergraduate and graduate students are first authors. She is single-handedly started the first student chapter of American Statistical Association, and now she is a Tufts voice in the Boston chapter of American Statistical Association as well. So if we are looking for somebody who can teach well stat and math, if we are looking for somebody who can contribute a lot in terms of data creations, data collections for our new initiative in the DISC, we don't need to go further. We have really wonderful people around, and Tania is one of them. Thank you very much.
Please welcome Jerry Sheehan, the Executive Associate Dean at the Fletcher School, and Katie Mulroy, the Director of Student Affairs at the Fletcher School, who introduce Pulkit Aggrwal.
Many of you are undergraduates who have not yet made a decision about graduate school. there's a small institution about 100 yards to my right, which you might want to consider because we'd be delighted to have you at Fletcher. This is Katie Mulroy, our Director of Student Affairs, who co-wrote the nomination. And of course, over there, standing so far away from me, is Pulkit. All you really need to know about Pulkit is that he is ballast in stormy seas. I could stop right there. You just walk away, remember that one comment. And we've had some stormy seas at Fletcher this year. I'm not going to go into the details, but if you want some of those details, you can go back and look at some of the back issues of the Tufts Daily and get a sense of some of those issues. And Pulkit was key in helping us navigate those stormy seas. Pulkit, I think Katie and I and the rest of the Fletcher community are truly grateful for your persistent and your transparent efforts at community building and for your willingness to engage on often thankless tasks and emotionally draining tasks as well. Now, I'm not going to say anything about Pulkit's pre-Fletcher experience other than to note that in 2015 he was selected as a Global Shaper Under 30 by the World Economic Forum for his 5 years of community service work back in his native India in Chandigarh. But let me talk a little bit, and briefly, Alan, about his engagement at Fletcher. Pulkit joined our core two-year program in August of 2016, and it's rather stunning what he's been able to do in his 2 years at Fletcher and at Tufts. I'm just going to read down the list without going into any of the details. He was elected student representative to our Committee on Diversity and Inclusiveness. He was elected student rep to our student council. He was a volunteer leader for our new student orientation sessions on navigating a diverse world. He was a graduate student rep to the university's Bridging Differences Task Force. He's been a volunteer teacher for Somerville's Committee on Refugees and from El Salvador. He's been a volunteer admissions ambassador. He's been managing director for digital and external affairs for our journal, the Fletcher Forum of World Affairs. He's been the marketing and communications co-chair for the class of 2018 gift committee. He's co-president of the Science Diplomacy Club, though I'm still trying to figure out what science diplomacy is. He's an RA and a TA for one of our most demanding faculty members in international law. And no surprise here, he also works as a time management and study strategies consultant at the Academic Resource Center. Now, I could say a few words about each of those, but I won't. But I think you get a sense of Pulkit's engagement with us. However, before I conclude, I do want to mention one other thing, and that is at India's 36th National Roller Skating Hockey Championship. This is a big deal in India. He was a member of the gold medal winning Chandigarh team. And at the time, Chandigarh was the New England Patriots of roller skating hockey in India. So there's more to Pulkit than what I've talked about as community engagement. In conclusion, how highly is he regarded at Fletcher? He was just elected as one of our 2 student speakers for Commencement Sunday. So Pulkit, congratulations on a great career.
It's now my pleasure to introduce Greg Carter, Assistant Professor of Medicine, the Jackson Laboratory, to introduce Alex Fine.
Thank you. So I'm here coming down from the Jackson Laboratory in Bar Harbor, Maine, on behalf of myself and my co-nominators, Catherine Kazarowski, Marianne Hendel, and Carrie Cowan. And I'm here to introduce you to Alexander Fine, who is a 4th-year student in the Tufts Genetics program. Alex is part of what we call the JAX track, which is a sub-program within the genetics program that's based at the Jackson Laboratory, and that's about 5 hours up the coast in Maine. So it's a bit remote. And we weren't quite sure how things were going to work, so we started this program about 6 years ago. I'd say we were a little worried about how the program would evolve, how the students would feel being so remote from the main campuses. And I'm happy to say that they've actually built an extraordinary, healthy graduate community there, and that's due in no small part to Alex Fine. Alex is an outstanding scientist, and I won't go into that, but he's won awards and led successful collaborations across many laboratories and disciplines. But it's really nice to be able to acknowledge his contributions to Civic Life in the Jackson Lab program with Tufts. Like I say, we have an outstanding culture, and it's really in part due to Alex. So Alex has done a number of things. First, he was a founder and a leader of the Jackson Lab graduate student organization. He also has organized and run Sackler genetics retreats for the students, so bringing students from all campuses, Medford, Boston, and the Jackson Lab together to cooperate and get to know each other better and create a real one department, one program underlying these 3 centers. He also represents graduate students on a number of faculty committees, including the Sackler Genetics Curriculum Committee and our internal graduate student committee. His contributions there are to provide a strong voice for the students, as well as really a visionary sense of what one needs in modern genetics education. So he's been invaluable there. You know, and aside from all of these formal roles he has had, his informal contributions are really what have built the civic life we have at the Jackson Laboratory now. His everyday contributions. For instance, he knows all of the students we're recruiting. They come and interview. He gets to know every one of them. When they arrive at the Jackson Lab or at the Tufts campus here in Boston or Medford, he welcomes them, makes them feel at home. And then he continues to build these bridges between the different parts of the program throughout their education as a mentor and a guide. Finally, he's really a tenacious supporter of all his fellow students throughout the laboratory, and this even goes beyond the Tufts program that he's a part of, to the point that sometimes he gets shooed out of a laboratory here or there. I've heard he's been banished from one, in fact. But that's all to his credit, because we all recognize the important role he has in creating a healthy, inclusive, and successful graduate community that we have at the Jackson Laboratory now. So for that, I'm very happy to recognize and thanks Alex Fine.
It's now my privilege to introduce Debbie Kochever, the Provost ad interim, who will introduce Anika Farina and Makoto Sakamoto.
So before I start, I'd like to congratulate all of the winners. This is one of the best days of the year to come and listen to all the bios for the winners here. It's just inspiring. And so Dean Solomon and President Monaco, thank you for doing this. Dean Solomon did mention I'm still the dean at the Cummings School of Veterinary Medicine. and that's really why I'm here today, because I and my co-nominators, who I will introduce in just a moment, come on over, are here to talk about Anika Farina, who will graduate how many days? Just a few, and her colleague, Makoto Sakamoto. They are extraordinary student members of the Cummings School of Veterinary Medicine community. So their accomplishments don't start and stop with us, but that's a short period of time today, so I'm only going to focus on the centerpiece of this nomination. But be assured they have many other things that they've done that qualify them for this award. So the centerpiece is a program that is new this year at Cummings School of Veterinary Medicine called Cummings Thrive. I'm joined in this nomination by key faculty members at the Cummings School, Jennifer Graham, there she is, Lois Wetmore, and Flo Singh, all of whom work diligently to promote student wellness and support students like Anika and Makoto. So Anika and Makoto both attended something called the Veterinary Leadership Experience, which is a national program which the Cummings School sends 2 students to each year. Upon returning to Grafton, there is a 3rd campus at Tufts. It's in Grafton. Upon returning from their summer experience, Anika and Makoto took up the challenge that has really confounded the school for some time, and that is how to extend the positive leadership experience that's gained by a few students at this VLE to the larger community of students, faculty, and staff in Grafton. So entirely on their own initiative, Anika and Makoto developed a new student-run, year-long program that's intended to explore concepts of leadership with other veterinary students expressly to help them thrive in what is a very tough professional curriculum. The new program was absolutely elegantly constructed. It's made up of month-long modules of activities that include an introductory email sharing the theme for a given month, and these themes could be leadership, resiliency, difficult conversations. They gave us homework, which they called thought exercises, but it was really homework, so that it sort of kept things going during the month. There was an evening session with a short didactic presentation, interactive exercises, and a shared meal. And finally, at the end of the month, there were emailed thoughts that helped you sort of wrap it all up and conclude the theme for the month. So the educators in the room will recognize this is a very well-constructed program, and it was entirely created by these 2 students. So these programs were delivered in partnership with students and faculty who are oriented and supported by Anika and Makoto. So in addition to conceiving, organizing, and staffing this academic year-long program, they also took up the challenge of augmenting funding for it. They competed successfully to be sponsored on the Tufts crowdfunding site and far exceeded their funding goal to support Cummings Thrive, which as a dean I have to say was just really impressive. So, and they weren't done yet. As the first year of the program neared an end, they looked ahead to solve the puzzle of how to sustain the program at Cummings School when they moved on into their respective either graduate or, in the case of Makoto, his clinical service year. To their credit, we now have a model where each year the students and faculty sponsored by Cummings School to attend the VLE will return to lead the Cummings Thrive program for that year. So with partnership across multiple supporters, Makoto and Anika have a plan that will keep this outstanding program going for future students, faculty, and staff at the Cummings School. I know I speak for these faculty and many more back in Grafton. We are all inspired and impressed by Makoto and Anika, their selfless commitment of time and energy to benefit the Cummings School community. It was really not about them, it was about everyone else. I'm assured that they will apply the same dedication to civic life that they have demonstrated at Cummings School to support and improve their professional community and society when they leave Tufts. So we are very proud of their achievements, congratulate them on the richly deserved selection as winners of the 2018 Presidential Award for Civic Life at Tufts.
Thank you, Dean. Next, I'd like to introduce John Morgan, the professor of Public Health and Community Service and the Director of Special Projects and Global Service Learning at the Tufts School of Dental Medicine, who will introduce Robert Geary.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to introduce Robert Geary, who's graduating from the School of Dental Medicine next month. And I would say that Robert has had many, many activities around civic life at the dental school, including tutoring students in the junior classes and sophomore classes in oral surgery and fixed and removable prosthetics. He volunteered his time at Bridge Over Troubled Waters, which is a safety net program for homeless youth. He has served as a dental liaison for his class and a number of other activities. But the one that I want to focus on today is one that was really his passion, was to create a dental program at the St. Roch Haiti Foundation in St. Roch, Haiti. He came up to me after class one day and said, I've been working with the St. Roch Haiti Foundation for a number of years, and I really think it would be a great spot for dental students to provide dental services for this very poor and vulnerable population. So the next thing Robert put together was a meeting at the 99 restaurant, I think, in Charlestown, with members of the board of St. Roch Haiti Foundation and 2 faculty members who had an interest at working in Haiti. And the conclusion at that meeting was that an entire program would have to be developed before we could send students to work with Robert in St. Roch, Haiti. So at that point, he put together a subcommittee of the people that were at that meeting, and also members of the community in St. Roch and members of the medical community at the St. Roch Haiti Clinic. So over the next 4 years, St. Roch committed to making the dental program acceptable for students to rotate through there. So the number of steps, which are multiple, I'm surprised that a student could pull this together. The St. Roch Haiti Clinic actually received equipment, doubled the size of the provider staff to include 2 Haitian dentists. We actually created a screening form for collecting data, which was done in Creole and in English. He then organized a meeting with the dean at the dental school in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, the St. Roch Haiti Foundation, and the clinical officers at the St. Roch Haiti Clinic. And now that group is developing a memorandum of understanding so that we're able to have relationships between the dental school in Haiti, the dental school here in Boston, and the St. Roch Haiti Foundation to create a multiple international student experience for our students in Haiti. So I believe that next year, Robert is going to be the first faculty member to actually run that program in Haiti. And it's fortunate for us that his residency will be in Burlington, Vermont, so he's close enough to actually keep doing this. So I think it's quite a remarkable achievement, and congratulations, Robert. And I would say that Robert is somebody who truly believes in the concept that I am because we are.
Thanks to Dean Hugh Thomas for joining us. Next, I'd like to introduce Sean Cash, who's the Associate Professor at the Friedman School of Nutrition, to introduce Megan Lehnerd.
Thank you. It's my great pleasure today to be able to introduce Megan Lehnerd on behalf of myself and my co-nominators, our academic dean, Ed Saltzman, and my colleague, Sarah Folta. We're very proud of Megan's achievements at the Friedman School, but we're not really surprised. Megan first came to us as a master's student a few years ago, was recruited with the aid of Block's scholarship, an endowed fellowship that we have specifically to try to recruit people who have already contributed in great ways to service in areas of food and nutrition. And so that's part of what Megan came in with. So I won't talk about the things she did before she came to us, but they were already quite impressive. While at the Friedman School, Megan has exemplified community leadership, public service, and civic engagement throughout her time. The focus of her research, her activities at the school, and her activities in the community all reflect a strong commitment to social justice and civic engagement. Her dissertation in her doctoral program focuses on farm to school programs in Massachusetts and the Mid-Atlantic region. These are programs that promote connection between communities and local food producers through changes in food purchasing and education practices at schools. Megan is also a member of a Friedman School task force charged with designing the school's first standing committee on social justice, inclusion, and diversity. And Megan has since agreed to be one of the 2 student members of that committee. and has served with great enthusiasm. She's also been a participant in the Graduate Institute for Teaching, and as part of this, co-taught a course on food justice, and she's been teaching courses as the sole instructor at our School of Public Health, as well as at Merrimack College here in the Boston area. She's also been an important resource to our Associate Dean as the school developed a Service Scholars Program at the Friedman School for Nutrition Science and Policy, and she's tirelessly participated in other activities such as serving as a student member to our admissions committee, serving on the Friedman Justice League, and on a working group for our strategic plans. That's just the stuff she's done within our walls at Friedman. I have a really long list that I've been told we have to stay to 2 minutes or less, so I can't tell you about all the things she's done in the Boston area community and beyond. She's really interested in a career focused on teaching and service, and we've discussed that quite a bit, and she'll be starting as a faculty member at another institution in a few months after she defends her dissertation and completes her degree this summer. And despite that strong interest in research, in teaching and service, she's no slouch in the research department. She's been a co-author on at least 9 manuscripts that are currently in some stage of the publication process that I can count. I probably missed 1 or 2, and about half of those as first author. But she says that that's not her focus, but she's doing that at a great rate. In addition to all this, Megan's been very generous with her time in so many ways and is a trusted resource to many of us and to her fellow students at the Friedman School. And I know she's going to go on to do great things because she's starting a faculty position and the job is about research, teaching, and service, and she's been firing on all those cylinders in a really strong way her whole time. So the next time we talk about Megan, I know, again, I'll say that we're very proud of what she's accomplished, but not at all surprised.
I'm now pleased to introduce Dan Volchok, Associate Dean at the Sackler School of Graduate Biomedical Sciences, who will introduce Siobhan Mcree.
Well, I'm fairly new to Sackler and to Tufts. I've known Siobhan for only this past academic year. I've been very impressed with her ongoing civic engagement and community service efforts. During her time as a PhD student in genetics at Sackler, Siobhan has been a prodigious and essential advocate for women and STEM, and more broadly, the graduate student community as a whole. I was previously worked with the Graduate Women in Science and Engineering group known as GWICE in a former position, and I was glad to see that a chapter was forming at Tufts when I got here. What I learned was that Siobhan helped found not only the Tufts chapter, but also the New England GWICE Consortium Group, which brings together GWICE organizations from 9 local institutions. She has continued to be active in both the New England and the Tufts groups through her work as media director of the day-long seminar that discussed sexual harassment in higher education that took place at Tufts in March, and organizing a variety of charity drives supporting local homeless shelter. In addition to her work with GWICE, Siobhan helped co-found Tufts Mentoring Circles, a student group dedicated to organizing small group peer mentoring and brings together students with industry and academic leaders. This group inspired the creation of a postdoc mentoring group, and the 2 programs eventually merged, bringing together students, postdocs, alumni, and industry leaders. Siobhan is also involved in the local Massachusetts chapter of the Association of Women in Science, volunteering on their sponsorship committee, and was a science communication mentor and a guide for an undergraduate course at Emerson College. She was also a member of the Sackler Graduate Student Council, where she facilitated organizing and promoting career events for her fellow students as part of the Career Paths Committee. Within her academic program, she has mentored 4 students on their research projects and was selected to present at the 2017 St. Jude National Graduate Student Symposium. Siobhan recently defended her thesis and will be missed as a driving force within Sackler. I'm honored to present the Presidential Award for Civic Life to Siobhan.
I'm now proud to introduce Jennifer Greer-Morrissey, who's the coordinator of the School of Medicine and Tisch College Community Service Learning Program, to introduce Nathan Potter.
Hi, everyone. Although I'm sorry that my co-nominators, Dean Berman, Dean Kulik, and Dean Epstein couldn't be here today to celebrate Nathan, I'm also selfishly pretty pleased that I have the privilege of introducing him because I've known Nathan since his very first week of medical school. He introduced himself to me on his first day of classes at our annual activities fair. He told me that his brother had been arrested recently, and so he had become very interested in health issues in the prison population. He asked if we had any existing Tufts programs that volunteer in those settings. And at that time, my answer was, we don't, but you could start one. Nathan took me at my word. And the leadership and dedication that I observed in Nathan over the following months is honestly something I've never seen the likes of in my almost 15 years of working in service learning. The bureaucracy involved in volunteering in prisons is notorious. Nathan filled out forms, he met with corrections officers, with physicians, he wrote proposals and letters. They were almost ready to start at one site, and then the lead contact left and everything fell through. And he persisted. It took over 6 months, countless hours of planning, before they even set foot in their partner site, South Bay House of Corrections. But finally, the day arrived. With faculty and South Bay's guidance, they had developed workshops on various wellness topics. Workshops they had assumed were optional for the participants. So Nathan and his classmates stammered through the first part of a nutrition workshop until finally one of the guys said, "Why are you taking away our free time from us? I was going to go to the gym." And that is how Nathan found out that South Bay had not made the workshops optional for the participants. The gentleman then pointed out that the workshop on nutrition was not very useful to them since they have so little choice in the food that they are served in prison. After their months of hard work, Nathan was understandably disheartened, but he said, well, the individual seemed, quote, rightly frustrated with a system that didn't seem to listen to him or care about him. Well, despite that less than stellar first day, Nathan and his team continued. And over time, the participants grew to appreciate that although they had to be there, Nathan and his classmates didn't. They saw that the medical students genuinely cared about them. Despite its rocky start, the Phoenix Project, as South Bay chose to call this program, grew into a robust program with about 10 medical students each year volunteering in South Bay's pre-release program and in the women's unit. The Phoenix Project also organizes campus educational events to heighten all medical students' awareness of criminal justice issues. The program is so unique that Nathan was invited to present at the Academic and Health Policy Conference on Correctional Health, and he was a featured speaker for a conference on holistic approaches to wellness for returning citizens. Nathan recently led one of his last Phoenix Project workshops, now as a fourth-year student. In strong contrast to the first session, at the end, one of the participants said, "Just so you know, this is the best group we have. It's the only one where we can talk about things. The rest of them are just lectures." Nathan's reflections on that comment speak volumes about who he is. He could have just felt really proud that the program had come such a long way since that disappointing first day. But he was more thoughtful than that, and he said, "Something as simple as providing a forum for discussion means a lot for a group that usually lacks that freedom. Even if we hadn't provided a shred of valuable medical information, there's an inherent value in treating this population with the respect and dignity that all human beings deserve." Nathan, your work has not only affected those at South Bay House of Corrections and will continue to do so for many years through the program you created, but you have profoundly affected future physicians. You've inspired your classmates through your leadership, and you've heightened student awareness of criminal justice issues, ensuring that they will also treat this population with the respect and dignity that everyone deserves. We know that you will continue to have an incredible impact in your future career as an emergency medicine physician. I am so honored to present you with the Presidential Award for Civic Life.
And he persisted. And now we come to the conclusion, last but by no means least. I'd like to introduce Karen Jacobson, Associate Professor at the Fletcher School and Research Director of the Feinstein International Center, and Nadim Shihadi, Director of the Fares Center for Eastern Mediterranean Studies at the Fletcher School, to introduce Claire Wilson.
Hi everyone, Karen Jacobson here with Nadim Shihadi. I'm delighted and thrilled to present Claire, one of my all-time favorite students at the Fletcher School. Claire came to Fletcher with already a whole bunch of accomplishments, which is not unusual for Fletcher students. She had spent 2 years in Lebanon doing humanitarian work. Claire is fluent in Arabic, in Levantine Arabic. For me, one of the most important assets a person could have working in the Middle East these days. And she came, she took my courses, I got to know her in office hours. I was just terribly impressed by her work, but also her creativeness, her curiosity, her warmth and humor. And I just really got to like Claire particularly. And then I started finding out, or we did, about her other accomplishments and the other things she was doing at Fletcher. And one of the things I think that is most important both for Fletcher and for Tufts is that Claire was involved in an activity that is important also at our national level in terms of civic life. And that is that she was very involved in trying to improve inclusiveness at Fletcher and at Tufts. And so many of the activities and the clubs and the organizations that Claire's been involved in have sought to increase inclusion and inclusivity at Fletcher. For example, she has been co-chair of the, wait, I have to get this right, of the Pride group at Fletcher. And in addition to bringing in LGBTQI people, she has also tried to increase the involvement of international students and people of color in these moves. So she has really tried to bring that to Fletcher, and I think this is such an important piece, especially in our current political climate. And she's been involved in many other movements and clubs at Fletcher, and particularly what I like is that she's tried to engage people's creativity. Claire is herself a poet, a published poet, and a performer, and she's really encouraged the arts and people engaging in the arts and performance at Fletcher as a way to improve inclusion. So I'm going to hand over to Nadim, who has more to say about her. I want to say how honored I am to present her and with this presidential award. And I'm so thrilled for you, Claire, and I wish you so much the best for your future.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen. It's really a great honor and a pleasure to contribute to this. I'm one of 3 nominees, and I think each one of us has enough to say for a separate prize. So Claire could get the prize 3 times from each one of us. In my case, Claire came to me through a chain of another student who was very, very influential at Fletcher, and she was in a way a savior because everything she touches turns into gold. I come up with an idea and I find that she's already taken it, run away with it, expanded it, made it better, implemented it. Everybody's talking about it, and I take the credit. It's so unfair. We conspired to create internal conversation at the school and have events with people from the community. And I think this is one of the important contributions of Claire to civic life at Fletcher, which is that instead of bringing a speaker from outside who will give us sometimes the same talk that we'll find on YouTube, we got people from our community. We identified people who have amazing contributions to give, who have great experience, and who sometimes go through 2 years without having the chance for us to get to know them better. So I think that was one. This is something that will have a lasting impact on the school. And Claire was an amazing recruiter of this. And Claire also helped with setting up a partnership with the medical school, with the Friedman School, and the Feinstein Center to work on the city of Tripoli. She went to Tripoli early on with another colleague, and basically she engaged with the city at all levels. She made contacts with government, with NGOs, with refugees, with activists, artists, and through these contacts we managed to send 8 students last year, and this year we have about 10 students going to engage with the city. And another contribution is that is the launching of a food symposium. It started with a conversation we had of how to make people understand not diversity but cosmopolitanism, how to make people understand that there are cultural aspects that transcend boundaries. And we started with an event on music that in the region, and on food. And the food symposium has now become an established feature of the school. I could go on and on, but the time is limited. I hope we will not miss Claire, because we do not intend to let her get away very far, and that we will keep in touch with her in her future career, which I'm sure will be brilliant, and wherever she goes, we'll be very lucky to have her.
Well, let me congratulate once again all of the winners, their family members, all of the nominators. I want to thank President Monaco for hosting this annual event and for his commitment to these presidential awards. As Debbie Kuchiver said earlier, this really is a special annual event. I think it demonstrates both the breadth and the depth of civic engagement at this university. The breadth, we've recognized students from virtually every school across the entire university, and I think the depth of the civic engagement of the students that we've heard described speaks for itself. So now let me welcome Daniel Jay, the Dean of the Sackler School of Graduate Biomedical Sciences, who will offer some concluding remarks.
Thank you, Alan. Yes, first let me start out by thanking President Monaco and Dean Solomon and Tisch College and all the efforts they have done for us to be able to honor what is best in us at Tufts. I'm astonished by hearing the diversity of the wonderful things that people have done, that all of our honorees have done across our campus, across the community, across the world, and it reminds me of how special a place that we work in. We're called the Light on the Hill, and because of your efforts, of your ideas, of your commitment, of your outreach. We have brought that light to make our world a brighter world, to quote our campaign. That's wonderful. So thank you very much for your service. And you all came to Tufts, I think, in part because you share that passion for service and for outreach. It's a wonderful thing to see. And I would be remiss in not thanking the mentors, the faculty, the staff who have encouraged, created an environment that is revels in the ability of us all to give back to our society. And so that's a great environment that we live in. I'm sure I speak for all the deans where this makes it very easy for us to come into work, that we can bring forward that mission, and that the civic engagement and outreach is a core value. It's in our DNA, and that's a wonderful thing. I think about, when I realized looking through the brochure that many of you are graduating and leaving us, but I trust that you will be great ambassadors for Tufts, that you will bring forward that light to brighten the darker places that still remain in this world. I always find that when I walk into work, or ride into work in this case, I'm always singing a song that reflects my innermost soul on that day. Yesterday it was stormy weather. Today it was a song that I had heard and sung at a recent Passover Seder, and it was a song from my childhood, which is "If I Had a Hammer." I think most of you know that. And so I hope as you go out into the world, all of our honorees and all of us at Tufts will bring that, their hammer of justice, their bell of freedom, their song of love, so that we may bring that light that we've all shared here to the world at large. Thank you so much.
Thank you for those concluding remarks. It's certainly been an inspiring morning. Congratulations to all the honorees on your achievements. Your active citizenship have made Tufts a better institution and the world a better place. So go out and continue to do this work after you graduate, those that are seniors or in their fourth year. Congratulations again, and please stay, mingle, and enjoy further refreshments.